Hey everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the One Team We Agree On. I'm Kyle,
I'm Jillian.
and I want to welcome you to our third episode. And on today's show, we are going to discuss some what ifs.
hmm
Um, and this is from some of you viewers out there that have sent in some questions. And then we're going to talk a little bit maybe about the World Cup if we have time.
hmm
But before we get started today, what are you wearing today?
Fight for Philly.
All right. And where'd you get that?
Got that at the team store at Subaru Park.
Oh, okay. And I'm wearing an Adidas. I thought it was pretty awesome. It's a skull with a little Philadelphia Union. I actually got this on eBay of all places. So, so yeah. But before we get started, just a few things. Once again, if you have not followed the channel, please do click subscribe. And even better, leave a comment. We love interacting with you guys. So out there. And then also you can follow us on Twitter. Our handle is TOTWAG. Yes, that's the one team we agree on. And then you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram on the one team we agree on. And we hope to have some more content up there coming up in the near future, especially with the holidays. Give us a little bit more time. But anyway, so we'll get started on the main part of the show today with the what if questions. Now, this came to me because I was scrolling through Twitter the one day and I saw somebody just posted. And if you're listening or watching, please feel free to comment. That was you. I'm not sure who said it, but they said, "What if Corey Burke had not gotten injured or creepo when we had that collision and all
Yeah.
that was such time? What happens if they had won that ball gone in?"
I know I've said it. I had said it to you too. Like,
Yeah,
what if?
everybody, and I've heard that a couple times. So it got me thinking about maybe doing something a little bit more interactive and what if. So
Also, we're Marvel fans, so we like that what if show too. So,
it is a pretty awesome show, I have to
yeah.
admit. So yeah. Now, so what we did was we went out and we asked you guys to maybe give me your what ifs. And not saying we're going to create an alternate timeline and a long story, but it gives us some, some discussion points. So we're going to start off here with first question from Heather, who we interact with on Twitter. Um, she is awesome. And her question is, what if the union did not let points drop during the string of ties? So we all remember this
The day we burned the bull and we tied them.
with the man up, which is another question, which we'll get to. But
Yeah.
let's read over this. So Union start out their last wins at 1-0. Eli Room like knocked his own goal in. We
Oh
win
yeah.
1-0. Then we're in Vegas and they lose to Toronto after being up. That's a blown
hmm
lead. So they were up 1-0 and they Toronto scored 2 goals. Then we come home and we tie Montreal. We then tie Nashville. We then tie LAFC. We lose in the Open Cup. We tie Red Bulls, tie Miami, win at Portland, tie uh, New England, tie Cincinnati,
And
and
then,
and then we finish off start July
well, yeah, we finally won their
and we beat
NYCFC.
and then we
Yeah.
lose, then we bounce back, lose Chicago, and then we tied 0-0 in Columbus.
hmm
And then we started scoring goals. So to answer your question, well, I think it's pretty simple. I think for some of these games, I would say bad draw Miami, bad
hmm
draw New well, I wouldn't say New England because we were down that game.
But definitely against
Red
Miami, that was a bad draw. One
um
we should have won.
Red Bulls bad draw.
hmm
Montreal was a bad draw. I would say those were the bad draws. I still think that draw also against Cincinnati because they still hadn't found their form yet. We
Yeah.
kind of just were playing around with them. I would say honestly, Heather, that for me, we should definitely maybe give Montreal, but yeah, the Red Bulls draw and the New England draw. I mean the Miami draw were the two draws that we should have gotten points out of them. And if we do get points,
then we get the shield.
Then we get the shield. I mean,
and then
that is
not only
literally
that, we get the shield, but then we're ahead of LAFC. We host, and I think we win the cup,
which we'll get to. But yes, I think if we would during that draw string at least gotten maybe another.
You think just one more
I would
win
say
instead
points.
of draw.
6 points right there. We're in the driver's seat going in there, and then we don't have to play like this what if game. We're in the driver's seat. And that's really, I think, what hurts. Plus, it would give us flexibility with the cup. I think that played a little bit into it. But so thank you. And then Jose Nunez, he has said, what happens if we didn't tie the Red Bulls while going a man up and that game? Yes. So remember, we get that goal and then we go up. Again, I think that was kind of the back-breaking tie. I mean, if you look at it, we had like, okay, Montreal wasn't a great one, and those other two road ties to me are just okay. They're whatever. I think
at home there though.
That was that the Red Bull and like I said, the Miami. For me, again, it goes back to if we don't drop points, we're winning the shield. I mean,
it just puts us more in the driver's seat there and less pressure at the end there, I don't know, like that whole string of ties, the whole string of draws that we had was just like frustrating.
And it played a big part in some of the decisions we made mid-season with moving guys too. I truly believe that. Mr. DOOP Arizona says, what if the Union had held on to the 2-1 lead at the bank? And the MLS Cup would be at the Super Bowl. That's an interesting question. And Jose, sorry, I didn't mean to run you off. Thank you so much for your question. But Mr. Dupe, if you remember, we kind of went up. Gazdag scores. Then they bounce back with the goal. Carranza scores. And then Escobar puts one in late in the game. I think for that game, honestly, again, we had the opportunity there. Again, that's another game that we blew that could have went towards having the shield. And was the MLS Cup was held to Super? Well, here's my thought on that. And I've heard people say, "Oh, we win." I think it was Matt George said, "Yeah, that game was there. It's 4-1." I don't know if it's 4-1, but I definitely could see like a 4-2 game.
We have a clear advantage when we're at home.
Oh, like, yeah, we hadn't lost all year, and my whole point on that is LAFC's stadium, those fans, that was the loudest I've ever heard.
They brought it.
They did. Bring it.
Credit to them.
As much as we bring it on Pack House night, that was like, wow.
Yeah.
So think of that as a team's perspective. I mean, that's a home field advantage. I think if that game, I shouldn't say I think, I know if we're playing that game at Soup, we're winning that game like 4-2, 3-1, something like that. But yeah, that's a game for me that if, again, it goes back to what Heather and Jose are saying. What if we don't drop points? If we do not drop points, I mean, we're hosting that cup and we're probably hoisting that cup.
There's so many what ifs, like, if we don't have that awful game at Charlotte,
let's not bring that up.
PTSD.
That game was bad.
That was so bad.
That game, okay, the bad games. That game was bad. The Chicago Fire game was odd. We just had nothing that one. I've heard some people say the game against Cincinnati, that was a home field midweek, just kind of like, and that happens. Yeah. The Dallas game, we tried to just, it was at Dallas and it was 100 degrees. And I mean, you're going to have those midweek games where you just don't show up. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I would say the Charlotte game and that Chicago game were two. But anyway, next one. This is from Mike Berrera. Mike, if I incorrectly pronounce your name, I apologize. What if a healthy Alejandro Bedoya played in the MLS Cup? That's a good question.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this. We were talking about this the other day. Yeah, so I think, he would just bring that extra leadership. I mean, Andre Blake does a great job with them. when he's, captain on the field there and everything. But, um, you know, Bedoya is like next level. I mean, honestly, I mean, his play obviously is valuable to the team there, but I think his leadership and just like how he, you know, motivates them, and keeps on them when they're in different situations, I think that was
Right.
really missing.
Right. And I think this, for me, I think having a healthy Alejandro would have been
Mm-hmm.
great because he really, a couple things. One, he sees things on
Mm-hmm.
that field from his veteran leadership that I don't think, number one, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think Blake can communicate. Like when they're at
Mm-hmm.
the far end, he can go admit to like almost
Yeah,
halfway
and we
line.
see him do that. Like he
He
goes
does
up
that.
and he
I mean,
yells,
he does a
you know,
great
I
job
mean,
as a
he's
captain
fantastic.
goalie,
Yeah.
but Alejandro can get in there, talk to guys during
Mm-hmm.
stoppage, point around. You see him do it all the time, pointing around like, hey, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing this. Plus, he knows where to be. Even at his age, he knows where to be, knows how to build. We've seen him do that time and time again. He knows how not to when to kind of let the emotion go, but also when to kind of be like, whoa, whoa, whoa guys, let's calm down
Mm-hmm.
a little bit. I think for him in the cup, he would have been able to dictate some of those emotions a little bit
Mm-hmm.
better than just him being on the sidelines. Obviously, having him there was a huge
Yeah,
benefit.
for sure.
But I think for having a healthy Alejandro, not only for the field of play, I think he would have done a lot better than
Mm-hmm.
Jack. And now credit to Jack. Jack was in a big stage again, like he was in the, and
Mm-hmm.
he's young. He's
Just
he's
this
young.
Bedoya would have brought a little bit more, veteran.
Leadership.
Yeah, like yeah. I mean, Jack plays well, but I think just Bedoya would have had the edge there.
And I mean, if he's
Even as
healthy,
mid
he's
thirties and mid
playing.
thirties people rock on. Just saying.
I just think he would have been able to. I mean, at least that first goal. I mean, we've seen what
Mm-hmm.
Jack. I mean, Jack made a bad decision. I don't think that goal goes in. That goal doesn't
Mm-hmm.
happen. So I think outside of the play, I think that Alejandro brings that leadership, and I think he would have been the difference maker had he been healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you again, Mike, for your question. Um, Now we get into some interesting ones. Um, Mr. Todd Lewis has sent us 3 questions, and these are interesting ones that I've had to give some thought to, just like I gave to the other ones. But first question from Todd: what if the Union had never traded Miro Montero? How would this season have looked different? So I will take this one. So, as you know, we trade Jamiro to San Jose at the beginning of the season, and for me, how does the season look differently considering everything that we have? So that means that Ua comes in, everybody's in there. How's the season look? Well, for me, I think the biggest thing, and Jim talked about this in his press conference, is flexibility. I know Jamiro likes to play 10. I think he's better an 8 or a wing. But think about the versatility in the lineups. You could then theoretically have maybe a Miro, then Julian or Mikel, and then maybe like a Jack McGlynn or
Mm-hmm.
Quinn Sullivan, and then Gajdag at 10. Gajdag's tired or gets in
Mm-hmm.
card accumulation issues, slide him to 10, bring in Paxton.
Mm-hmm.
Flock's not feeling it, or we want to play 2 6s. You have lineup flexibility, number one. Number two, our passing wasn't the greatest this year in the midfield at times.
Mm-hmm.
Jamiro was very good at that, was very good at playing the ball, getting in, getting people open, worked well with Kai on that left side at times. But the other thing I would say too was he was a very good playmaker, even when he had Casper and Gasha getting them there, feeding them the ball. I think honestly, you would see an improvement in passing. I think he would have had more lineup flexibility. I think he would have had more. I think he had 6 assists. San Jose. I think he would have had probably 8 or 9 with that lineup.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would have definitely done well with us. I also, so having said that, I think he definitely would have brought some things to the table. Now, on the flip side, you're holding back Danny from playing the 10 because he's going to want to play Penn. So now that, how's that really affect the growth of him? But then you move him to the 8. Now we saw the development defensively anyway, and some of the great stuff that Leon did this year. Where is that development? Are they improving? I mean, you can get creative with lineups, but I think at the end of the day, I think offensively, and we also it wasn't his main thing, but he was decent on the 1v1 too, and we really didn't have that in midfield. And that's something for me anyway. I think we need to address in the offseason. So that's kind of my thinking. Anything from you?
I mean, I think you summed that up pretty good. I mean, honestly, yeah, I don't know if I mean, would we have had the same numbers from those guys? I don't know, but
I don't know either.
Yeah.
But that is why we're playing the what if. And I love this next question. What if the Union's 4 strikers would have been Casper, Julian, Corey, and Sergio? Would the Union have put up 72 goals?
Well, I know it's not answering the exact question, but you'd be very sad if that did not include Mikel Lua.
I would be, but let's honestly
yes.
because there was a time when they came back before Casper was going to go that was our striking core. So would we put up 72 goals? Well,
I don't think we do.
You know, I'm trying to look at this, and that was my first reaction. But then I tried to look this in a very, just objective, like, subjectively, like, what is everything? So you'd have Julian and Casper up top. You have Danny at the 10. Then you'd probably have Sergio and Corey coming off the bench like they were when Sergio was still in the team. So what does that look like? Well, I think you would get really good. My only thing is I'm looking at this because I love Casper, but Casper would make those bad misses.
Right.
Like
that's
Julian,
what I was thinking.
Like Julian did.
So you have Julian doing that and Casper doing that possibly.
And you have Corey sometimes will hit miss, and Sergio would miss. So we had this great shooting percentage this year with like Mikel, and even Julian was better than Casper this year, even though he missed sometimes some bad misses. I think our shooting percentage is down now. The other thing is, does Gazdag score 20 plus goals? Because remember, a lot of his goals are PKs. Well, Casper was taking PKs last year.
It's true.
And Casper really didn't like anybody else taking PKs. And we saw Julian at times was like, I want to take it, I want to take it, but that was Danny's call. So do we see that? And then also, what about Corey? Corey had 7 goals, had probably one of his best seasons ever. And he was scoring early on when it was him, Sergio, and Julian. So does he get in as much? And so I don't think we score 72 goals. I think we score. I
still think we'd score a lot, but I don't know if we scored that many.
I think Casper scores more than he did when he scored 5 this year in Chicago. And for Casper, I mean, that offense in Chicago was built for him.
Yeah.
He has Shaqiri, and even Shaqiri couldn't get it. So there's something else going on there. But again, like, I think you see Casper maybe get 10. Julian, I don't know if I just don't see it. I see, like, I still think Danny would get probably 15 plus. I
mean, I think he still gets, but he probably's not taking as many PKs, like you said. So
I still think he would get. I would still think he'd get 15 plus assists. I do think he was working well with Casper towards the end of the year. So, but I don't think we hit 72. What if the Union rested versus LA instead of Orlando in the Open Cup? Would they have beaten Orlando? So this is the one I'm most excited to answer. So let me go ahead and get started with this one. So as we know, the Union drew 2-2 to LA, and then they come back literally 3 days later, have a US Open Cup game in Orlando, and they lose 2-1 with a Stuart Finley goal.
Yes. Stu.
But the question is, should they have rested that game and gone for the cup? Now, their bracket was interesting because they had Miami Fusion, Miami, the Union, and Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and I pulled this up real quick here, and I'm going to pull this up right now. So let's say they rest, okay?
Mm.
They probably don't win in LA. So does that mean we get the shit? Well, maybe we don't drop some of these ties and we get some points. We don't know that. That's outside the question. I say I think we beat Orlando if we go for it. Next game's against Miami in Philly. I think we beat them. Then we play Nashville in Philly. We beat them probably. I think we do. Then we have Red Bull in Philly. I think we beat them. And then theoretically, we would have Sacramento FC, FC Sacramento coming in and playing us. Yeah, I think with the way we were playing at home this year, I think we would. That's a clear ticket, which is why I'm kind of disappointed we didn't go for it. What does that mean for like how our season? Well, you can make the argument, okay, now we're playing some extra games. So we drop a few more. Yeah, maybe, but we get that CONCACAF berth a lot earlier into the CCL. Then we go, let's say hypothetically, we get a 2 or 3 seed. Okay. We still got the first draw. Maybe we draw like a NYCFC or something. I don't know how that draw would look. Maybe we get Red Bull. Maybe Red Bull, doesn't drop points. I think at the end of the day, you don't know how that's going to drop. I still think our path, I'm not afraid of look what New York did to Montreal.
Yeah.
And Montreal even struggled for a little bit with Orlando at home. I think we go up there, their defense is shaky. We found a new identity. And then we go to the cup. So I think we have our cake and eat it too, basically. So Todd, to answer your question, yes, I think we would rest. Maybe we don't win the East, but maybe during the regular season get top of the table. But maybe we would have an easier path to the U.S. Open Cup. So now for some of the questions I put together.
Okay.
What if Jim Curtin, instead of Pat Noonan, took over as head coach of Cincinnati? So if you guys remember, back when, the season was over, they hired Chris Albright. There was all this whole thing about, maybe Chris is going to bring his buddy, because Jim has said multiple times,
Right.
he misses Chris every day, things like that. And, Cincinnati had asked for a request to interview Jim. Obviously, we blocked it because he's still under contract, and they went and hired Pat Noonan, and the rest is history. What if number one, Ernst says, "Go ahead, you can interview him." Jim Goenholt says, "I'm going to Cincinnati. I'm going with my buddy. They got money. We're going over there." Now, well, number one, everybody be like shocked and in disbelief. But number two, then they turn around and say, "We're going to hire Pat Noonan." How different would the season look?
I mean, Pat's a great coach, but like, I don't know. It's like Jim Curtin is our guy.
Jim Curtin is our guy, and we're lucky to have him. But there will be a day and time that Jim probably will move on. I don't think it's going to be in the near future. I really don't. And he said because he's got kids. I don't see him unless like some team comes with an offer he can't refuse.
Like
he's going
to the U.S. men's national team.
No,
I know. I've just been seeing that. I've been seeing that question being thrown around on Twitter and Reddit and stuff.
That's the kind of coach you need, though. You need that kind of coach. But beyond that, here's my thing, and I kind of draw on as having great assistants as a head coach. You're always as good as your assistant coaches, and Pat Noonan is an amazing tactician. He's the yin to the yang for Jim. So let's say he takes over. What do we expect? Well, we see what he did with Cincinnati. He took Brenner, who was basically about to be shipped off for a bag of peanuts, He took Vasquez, who was doing nothing. He reinvigorated Acosta. I think he does the same in terms of a. I don't think we lose much in terms of that X's and O's. Where I think we might lose some things is that the day to day just relationship building with your team. Now, I don't know what Pat, I'm sure Pat has great relationships with him, but he always comes off as more of the this is the way, understanding the day to day to day. He doesn't come off as where Jim seems more like a guy that he understands what make people tick, and I think Pat Noon's more of a robot when it's like this is where we want to be and this and that. And I think does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think where you see, I don't think anything falls on field play. I think where you see it is maybe in some team chemistry, the relationship building that might come into play, which might hinder some of the things. But and what about Jim and Cincy? I think Cincy kind of actually long term gets better, but I think this first year, I think Jim kind of brings his stuff in. I still think they would make the playoffs, but I don't know if you. I still think he would probably do the same. So I think it would be kind of yin and yang. So that's kind of my thought. Love to hear what you guys have to say. Okay. So here's one. If Mikel Ua did not have visa issues and then that nagging hamstring injury that plagued him for the beginning of the season, do we score more than 72 goals?
Quite possibly.
I say yes, we do. I say
you saw what he did. Yeah.
If we had that lineup against Minnesota, now I'm not saying we're clicking early on, but I don't think
we click earlier though.
I don't think we have that string of draws.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Mikel gets more familiar with some of those big name venues. And granted, I mean, he scored 20 plus goals when you look at his time at Brøndby and the Union this year. He was a 20 goal scorer again this year. Now he struggled. I will say this: he had some difficulty in the playoffs, but I think next year in the same environment, I think he overcomes that. And that's just me being. That's not me being a UA stan. That's just me being honest. I still
you are a UA stan.
I am, but I also think that he will figure that out. I just think we break that goal scoring record. I think we also maybe make the goal differential record too.
Yeah.
And then what happens if Stu and Kai? Well, first, what happens if Stu does not get traded to Oxford?
Yeah. So I don't know if he gets much more, playing time, but I would be very happy because the fact that I could have actually met him at that open practice and my life would be complete. I could have a picture with Stu and all of that. And I was thinking that when I was at the open practice, I was like, dang, I wish Stu was still on the team because I got to meet everybody else, which was awesome. But, I feel bad for Stu that he hasn't really gotten, to be part of a winning team where he went to Oxford. Like he gets playing time and I hope he's enjoying all that there and everything and happy getting the playing time, but it's a bummer, too, because they just aren't that good. So, but yeah, I mean, he probably, is riding the bench. It's tough when you've got Glesnes and Elliott there, and
yeah, it really is. And the other thing for me is, again, I go back to what we said earlier about roster flexibility with Jamiro. I mean, I think we have more roster flexibility. I think you maybe would see, I know some people don't like it, but 3 in the back, maybe some of those lineups, although I know Jim was talking about his press conference. Everybody's like, ooh, 3 in the back. But I mean,
bring back Stu.
I mean, yeah, we need another Dakota. No. I mean, yes, I think we should spirit it, but if Stu hadn't been traded, I don't think much changes. I don't think either. I think maybe he gets a little bit more playing time, obviously, when Jack goes out. I wish we did still have Stu, though, because it'd be just I'd feel comfortable being just knowing that, again, if Jack or Jacob are unable to play, who's to say Jacob doesn't start getting international duty with Norway? They haven't done it yet, but who's to say not? Or even Jack for that matter. Who
Hmm.
knows? Scotland might win. Um, and then our last one, what if Kai gets sold during the summer?
Oh, well,
How's that affect the team?
I mean, Kai was huge.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if we do as well as we did,
No,
you know,
I
in
think
the
we
done.
finished second, third in the
Yeah.
East. I think Matt Real is more incapable. He showed it at times, but he's
He's
not Kai.
yeah, he's not Kai.
No, he's not Kai. And again, I think Bizo and Kai are much better because they're almost like a hybrid back. They're like the modern day back. I think I was telling somebody, I think it was Todd about that. They're more of the hybrid back. Maybe a little bit of a wing back at certain areas, but they're a hybrid back. Whereas I think Matt and Nate are more your traditional backs if they play left. Although Matt can also play midfield, so he could fine fit that. But he's really not. I mean, he's got a good defense, but I mean, he did score a goal this year. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I just don't. I think you don't survive that
Yeah.
job. And which brings me, do you think Kai will go this winter?
I think he will, but I'll be really happy if he stays. But I really like,
I don't know anymore.
who knows?
I don't know. I
I
mean,
really hope we can keep him, but
I'm saying this right now. If he doesn't go
I'll
in
be
this
surprised if he
window,
doesn't go.
if he doesn't go in this window, then I think we're working on something to just keep him.
Mm.
I don't think we're letting him go. I think he's staying here. So thank you guys again for your questions. I'll be posting that on the description there. But just one last thought. So you and I went to for Black Friday, and then also this past Saturday went to the American Outlaws thing at Tellus. We hung out with Ricky.
Yeah.
We saw Jared. We saw a couple other guys.
Yeah, tell
Met
us
Ken.
360. Yeah, tell us in Lancaster City.
So you have been watching a lot of the World Cup this year.
Yeah, so I mean,
What are your thoughts on the World Cup?
okay, so the last time we had the World Cup, I don't even know if I watched like hardly any of it, to be honest. I have not been much of a soccer fan for most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this is the first time I was like way more invested in it. I mean, the union helped me just get more invested in soccer, you know, um, in the first place. So, it was definitely, fun to watch, and joining American Outlaws, that was a good move. We just had a great time. It's crazy, like um being a morning game, going to the bar, and watching it and everything. But it was packed, like, and I didn't realize how many fans there were, even just like in the Lancaster area of, the US men's national team. And I'm thinking as we're watching, I'm like, what if we could get people to buy into the union, all these people that like soccer in our area,
Mm-hmm.
if we could get them to buy into the union. I mean, there's some people we saw like when we were there on Black Friday, for that, you know, watching England, like we saw a bunch of people in union stuff there.
Yeah, and I saw a couple this
Hmm.
Saturday too. Not as many, but I saw a
Yeah.
couple. So I mean, they're around, and that's awesome. And maybe we can get something down the road, building here in Lancaster.
Hmm.
I certainly think it would be great to have.
Hmm. Yeah. And there's but yeah, it's great to see like Lancaster has quite a bit of a soccer following. I mean, we have some really good, development programs. I mean, Christian Pulisic came, up through program in Lancaster County. He's from Hershey, really close by, but he played for the, classics up like in the Mannheim area. So he
Mm-hmm.
has like big ties to Lancaster County. And so like, I mean, Lancaster County, we love Christian Pulisic. So yeah, I mean,
I mean, I think for me it's been exciting just to watch like all
mhm,
the games, and there's been some
mhm,
exciting games,
yeah,
and so I'm excited to see how this round of 16 ends up, and then going on the quarter semis, and
mhm,
I think 2026 is going to be exciting.
that's gonna be awesome.
It's going to be very exciting. I think I'll be interested to see what the U.S. They got 4 years put together to see what they got. I think
Mhm.
that they showed at times. I'm not gonna get into the whole, great bull Burkholder, bullet holder, or I,
Peralta.
Bull Harter.
You're having a
I'm
tongue
having
twister there.
I just call him Triple G because that seems
Yeah,
like everybody else
yeah.
does. And The truth is, I think, the team does well in spite of him. That's
Mm-hmm.
my only thing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he did his job. I don't think that some national coaches should go more than 4 years. He did a
Mm-hmm.
good job assembling that team, bringing them back from what it was, getting them to this stage. But I think now you need somebody like a Jim Curtin or
Mm-hmm.
a coach that can develop these guys, get them ready for a
Mm-hmm.
serious run. And when we say serious run, we're looking at not only just winning, just being able to be in that conversation is like one of the four
Mm-hmm.
teams that should be there, and that's that top four at the end. So that's it for today. So this weekend, one last note: this weekend we will be going to the Philadelphia Union holiday party. So if you're going, please say hi.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll be reviewing that on the next show with some other things, obviously. But thank you guys again for listening. And make sure to interact. Again, we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Again, please just interact with us. If there's something you'd like us to cover, just drop us a DM. We'd love to
Mm-hmm.
hear from you. And until next time, I'm Kyle.
I'm Jillian.
And we'll see you on the one team we agree on. DOOP.